Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's Dina Kalmeta here and Susan Davis with Jesus 24/7. And today we're going to talk about our End Times News Report, Week in Review. And Susan, you have a lot to talk about tonight, don't you?
Well, you know, each week we do this. It's busy. I mean, we look at 7 days worth of news from around the world and we glean news sources from all over the planet, looking at videos and reviewing news articles from local and national publications and things of that nature. And we're looking for headlines that lines up with Bible prophecy. That's our goal each week, is to review that. And I tell you what, the Bible is so accurate. It's fantastic. I mean, the Bible just lays it out and it's just tracking completely with what's going on in the world. But you won't find this kind of information easily because I'll tell you, most of the media is, in fact, the majority of them, whether local or national, they're not going to talk about how this worked and how God foretold all these things. But we will, week after week. That's what we look at. And it is not slowing down. And why wouldn't it? We are in birth pains and we are moving towards what I think is the latter part of the birth pain event, which is moving us closer and closer to the return of the Lord. And in birth pains, they don't go backwards, Dina. Birth pains do not move in reverse. They don't slow down. I mean, you and I are observing what we're seeing is not slowing down, is it?
No, it's speeding up and the signs are getting closer together, if anything.
Oh, if anything, just like birth pains. So God really, he told it. He nailed it. He said it, and that's how it is. And now there's a lot of people out there just don't want to accept it, but it you just can't deny these things are going on. But let's take a look. We've got to jump in here, dive right in, and see what's happening this week, and a lot, by the way. We did see a massive avalanche cascade down Canyon and Block Highway in Utah, the State Route 210 and Little Cottonwood Canyon in Utah. This just happened this week. We're seeing these week upon week, and we're going to talk further about this sort of thing in the show. But let's just, right out of the gate, I wanted to talk about a couple events that happened that are just ginormous, and they just happened. I mean, it's almost breaking. And practically like within the same time frame, Dina. So let's take a look. And what we've got here is a 7.1 earthquake, magnitude earthquake that took place in Tibet. Okay. And at least 126 are dead. Now, some say it was a 6.8. This is what happens with earthquakes. There's all types of various opinions about how big the earthquake was. But the first thing we heard was 7.1. And so there were
Big.
all,
That's a large earthquake.
oh, yeah, these are not small earthquakes. This is not small. But the Chinese media, according to ABC News, also reported multiple aftershocks, with the largest of which was 4.4. But again, we've got 126 dead, scores injured in this area, lot of destruction. Okay, let me give you a feel for that. More than 3,600 houses have collapsed in this area. Yeah. Yes. And as these kinds of things go on, when you have an earthquake, it takes a while to really dig out and figure out just exactly what has taken place as far as damage and, lives being taken, that sort of thing. So, and again, I always say I don't trust the numbers on deaths and things like that, because when you're talking earthquake, it's just really hard to know, especially in these kinds of countries where they're kind of third world, that sort of thing. I want to say that this part of the world happens to be a holy city for Buddhism. This is one of the holiest areas, they say. That's what they say for the religion of Buddhism. I don't know if people are aware of that, but that's what they call it. And I think that's interesting considering at the same time this took place, there was another so called holy city take a lot of damage, and that was in the city of Mecca in Saudi Arabia. Now, what they had was not an earthquake, they had a flood. They got flooded. This is in Saudi Arabia. And I guess what I want to say about that is they have experienced flooding like earlier this spring, in spring of 2024. They got a lot of water. And this is happening again. And it's happening in a lot of the area in Saudi Arabia. And we're talking cars floating. Remember, we talked about this last week that we're seeing
Yes.
floods. I mean, over and over, we're seeing floods in which cars are floating off. I mean, we've been watching this kind of thing for years. I've never witnessed floods so bad that the cars are just floating around and the water is up to the roofs of the buildings and this sort of thing, and people are swimming in these messes. But this is what's going on, and it's just really funny that the same day this occurs in two of the holiest cities for, these two different religions. Well, let's move forward because we want to talk about this next headline is very bizarre. 7 infants in a Virginia hospital NICU found with fractured bones. I mean, parents are taking their newborns home, finding they have fractures. And somebody was doing this. And I think they're on to a nurse that coincidentally was working during the time each of these infants were harmed. But isn't that crazy, Dina?
That's cruel. These
Oh,
are
I know.
children. They can't even defend themselves. It's like it's the elderly, the children are innocent. And then the
Oh, yeah.
animals, which are innocent. Anybody who abuses those three groups of people, there's a word for it. I can't say it on here.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Right, right. So, I mean, these kids, they can't, these little babies, they cannot say, hey, mom, there's something wrong with my leg. I mean, this is just unbelievable. I mean, these are the kinds of crimes that we're seeing now. It's just horrendous, the kinds of things that I'm reading coming across my desk. And I can't believe what I'm seeing. Here's something interesting for anybody that wondered. Bashar al-Assad, who fled Turkey, went to Moscow, and he has a Moscow apartment. But this week, he was poisoned.
He
And
was?
yes, yeah, he coughing violently and choking. Called for medical assistance. Yeah, he has been poisoned, but now he's in stable condition. I don't know, but that is Putin's calling card.
I
Okay.
don't, isn't Putin like friends with him or something? Aren't they like
Um,
allies?
I don't know if maybe tables have turned. It's just hard to say. Putin has a habit of poisoning people that he is unhappy with. So I don't know. It's just historically, okay? We're just saying.
That's
But
true. That is true.
okay. So anyway,
That's his
so
go-to.
that's
Is the
taken place
poison.
this week. Yes. All right. Well, let's keep moving along. Residents started off the new year with a rumble as a 4.7 magnitude earthquake struck the region. So this happened 70 miles north of San Francisco. And so they felt that there. There was a 6.1 earthquake that hit South Sandwich Island region, and that took place on the new year, January 1. So we got a lot of earthquakes going on right now, Dina, all over the place.
I noticed that.
Yeah. And you know what? I can't do a report here without talking about the crazy weather that the United States is seeing all across the country.
Aren't you snowed in?
I am.
What's your
No,
story?
not really too bad, but yes, we got dumped on pretty bad. I mean, it's not so much just a lot of snow, it's just the cold weather, just really dropping into the teens and the single digits. But this dangerously cold weather is from the Arctic, has been forecasted to hit the US this week, and it continues on. And it's bringing this cold winter weather all the way across much of the Appalachians, Ohio Valley, Mid Atlantic, Great Lakes, and northeastern US. That's a wide-ranging storm. Big. It's not like some of these areas haven't seen snow or cold weather before, but this is a big, big thing. So, and then I think the South's going to have a big cold snap. So the US is really getting hit with everything. Everything is coming our way, right? Something. Let's take a look here. I'm just going to bring this up. I don't have any idea what this is about. I can only tell you this is what people are saying. But in Florida, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, California, Texas, and basically different parts of the US, people are reporting some kind of thick particle fog. They say it makes them sick. They feel sick. It smells like chemicals and it's not normal. Isn't that strange, Dina? Did you hear about this?
I saw it on your news report and I thought that was very interesting. I don't know what to make of that.
We don't know. It's very bizarre. There's nothing. You know what? It's sort of falling into the category of the drones. Remember the
Yeah,
drones?
the
We're all
drones
talking
that
about drones,
we don't
and
hear
now
about it anymore. We don't hear about
strange
the orbs.
talk. Oh, I know. It's just this has been a very bizarre year, by the way.
Do you think the drones were a distraction?
Oh, I mean, it could be. I mean, we don't know. It
What do
could
you
be.
think, audience? Do you think the drones were a distraction because they were doing something else with the other hand?
I don't know. We do not know. I just know that nothing is the same anymore, right? It just
There's no
is.
more drones. They don't talk about it anymore.
They don't, but now there's fog. There's strange fog. Okay. So,
Reminds me of that movie, I think in the 80s, The
yeah.
Fog, you know?
Oh, I know.
There's something evil in the fog.
I don't know. I don't know. But I'll tell you, one of the things that we have noted as we've tried to cover the news week after week is everybody's talking about they haven't seen this event or that event happen for decades, years, never. Like these are events are just not even normal. Most of the disasters and things that we're reporting on. That's what the locals all say. They've never seen winds like this, water like this, storms like this in all their life. And here's another one. We're talking Manchester, United Kingdom. Bridgewater Canal bursts for the first time in 50 years after a severe rain. So, torrential rain caused Greater Manchester's Bridgewater Canal to burst for the first time since 1971, flooding nearby fields, homes in Manchester, Stockport, Wigan, and Bolton were evacuated due to widespread flooding. Hundreds of people have been forced to leave their homes after heavy rain and floods battered large parts of northwest England, leaving cars abandoned and canceling trains. And so, once again, we're seeing the flooding. Just like I mentioned in Saudi Arabia, which, by the way, is a desert region, here we are, we're seeing more of it in the UK. I want to mention a new report that just came out was the 2023 Colorado Assisted Suicide Report. We continue to talk about this because people need to be talking about this. But this is awful. And I'll just tell you, it indicates that assisted suicide poison prescriptions and deaths have continued to rise every year since its legalization in the state of Colorado. And here's just an example from the 2023 report. Now, listen to this, Dina. There were 389 lethal poison prescriptions written, which was up by more than 22% from 318 in 2022, 218 in 2021, and 185 in 2020. And so the Colorado report indicated that in 23, 294 of the lethal poison prescriptions were dispensed, which was up by more than 18%. And so,
Wow.
yes, I want to say this because every time a state in the United States or a part of Canada or any other country, once they legalize this, they go on to increase the situation, further legalizing other forms of allowing people to have their lives taken from them. They start out with terminally ill patients, and then they move to people who are mentally ill, drug users, young people, you name it. And historically, there is not a situation where once it's legalized, they don't stop expanding their law to include other groups of and types of people over and over. And I also want to say this. Not only is it unbelievable that people would want a prescription for themselves of a lethal poison, I have to ask myself, who are these people that are writing these prescriptions, Dina?
That's a good question.
I mean, how do they sleep at night? How do they look in the mirror? How in the world? I mean, I guess they think, oh, they're doing some kind of a service, but they
Well,
are.
don't they say that like psychopathic people don't have any feelings?
Oh, they must be completely numb. I mean, they've got to be. They've they've passed the limits. All right, well, we might return. I've got another story I want to talk about that. Let's sidetrack a little bit because I want to mention and we go around a lot, but let's take a look at Chile for a minute. They had a 6.1 earthquake already this month. Oh, this is crazy, by the way. Do you remember this last week I talked about 3 U.S. landmarks getting hit by lightning?
Yeah, I remember that.
Right. All at once. I think it was New Year's Eve. Okay. It was the U.S. Capitol, the Empire State Building, and the Washington Memorial. Okay. Well, here's another one. A transatlantic United Airlines flight had to turn around after being struck by lightning on New Year's Eve, and they were going from Newark, New Jersey to London. So they had to turn around and put everybody up in a hotel in Boston.
I would not want to be on that flight.
No, but isn't that interesting? That happened the same night as well.
A lot of
Yeah.
activity on New Year's Eve.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, here is another report that has come in, and it's a scandal. There is a cover up and a scandal that's going on in the United Kingdom that a lot of people aren't aware of. But the British regime, we're going to call it, has been doing a major cover up, and they've been turning a blind eye to the British girls, some as young as 11, that they say there are hundreds of girls in Great Britain who have reportedly been raped by illegals.
Oh, that's terrible.
And they're turning a blind eye to it because the British government is promoting the incoming illegals, and they don't want to cast a bad shadow on that. So, in the process, they have turned a deaf ear to hundreds of young girls that live in that area. This is the report that's coming out. Can you believe this?
That is horrendous. That is so sad.
Oh, yeah. It's really bad. There's like a whole generation of young women in the UK that have these horrible stories. And, add insult to injury, like you go to get help and you can't even be helped or listened to by your own government, right?
That's horrendous. That's so
It
sad.
is. It is. And this is coming from a BBC report, by the way, among other reports. Okay. I want to go further, and I mentioned the assisted suicide death ceremonies are becoming something popular now. There was a guy who wrote an article. It's very interesting from the National Review. It was just published. He's talking about the popularity or the rising popularity of like death parties. Can you believe this? People gathering to support the individual who's going to take their life and be there when they take their own life. Have you ever heard of such a thing?
I don't like that.
Yeah, they're calling it end of life ceremony, holding it at friends' home, gathering around the individual. They even have end of life doulas. Okay. 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 Doulas normally are there to help mothers when they're birthing children, right? No, these are end of life doulas. That's their title. That's what they do. We have become a society of death, right?
Yeah.
You just
That's so
can't
sad.
believe this is going on. And how about this? Did you know that there are death cafes where people go to discuss topics of death and dying.
That's crazy.
I mean, you can't believe these things are going on. Yes, people are attending suicide parties or ceremonies. I mean, you just cannot believe that this is, well, I guess when you start to, okay, I'm just going to say it. When you start to look at the statistics of these legalized, medical assistance in dying, I guess it's no surprise that these things are going on, right? I,
Yeah, I'm finding it hard to be surprised these days about
Yeah,
anything.
I think exactly. All right. Well, there was a guy who's a Texas pastor, and he and a friend were out fishing. His name's Brian Johnson, and his dog. They were in a boat fishing, and they got caught in the middle of an EF3 tornado this week, 60 miles east of Houston. They were trapped. The boat turned over, and it got flipped in the water. And this was quite a tornado, 138 miles per hour.
Wow.
Yes, they had to hang on and they were all saved, the two men and the dog. But they said that, they regretted that they had chosen to be out there at the time.
Yeah, I would think so.
Anyway, but that just took place. Oh, here is another event we must mention, and it is that the Russian nuclear plant was bombed. It was the Zaporizhia, I want to call it the Zaporizhia plant in the Ukraine, which Russia had taken over from the Ukrainians, and it's a nuclear plant. But this thing has been taken over by Russians for a while, but this time the Ukrainians targeted it with 8 drones, hitting it, aiming to cause significant industrial environmental damage. But Russian air defenses intercepted all the drones, with one reportedly exploding on a building's roof, sparking a minor fire that was quickly contained. We're talking a nuclear plant, Dina.
That's scary.
Yes. I tell you that Ukraine has hit them, and we're getting reports of just literally hundreds of Russian troops and North Korean troops caught in fire and killed. So I don't know. I mean, we really have to be watching this, right?
Yeah, we just got to keep an eye on it.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, Mount Merapi in West Sumatra has erupted again, spewing 1,000-meter high ash column. So it's happened before and it's back at it again. And we're seeing a lot of activity all over the planet. It just is a very lively planet right now, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
I just want to mention this. There is a movie coming out. It's called Love Me Film and explores the future of artificial intelligent relationships. Again, I find that very disturbing to say the least, but this is where we are as a culture. Anyway, there is a lot of talk about, believe it or not, people having relationships with artificial intelligence. And there are actual psychiatrists and counselors that are going along with it. But we just recently had a 14-year-old engage with an artificial intelligence character and kill himself, right?
I know. That was just horrible. So sad.
I mean, does anybody even understand how in the world do they think something like that is okay? It is not. But anyway, this is where we are. Okay. Well, flooding. Flooding washed away village homes in Thailand, of all places. So it's destroyed a lot of the village over there in Thailand with more water. Okay. Speaking of Thailand, they found they call it an utterly enormous reticulated python that they captured out of the ceiling of a home in Thailand this week. They were forced to remove sections of the ceiling to capture the snake. This is why being in flooded waters is so dangerous in places like Thailand and Indonesia, right? And these areas. I just have a plan. I have a plan. They're making all these humanoid robots and they're making all these dog robots and all this stuff. in mass. I mean, these factories are churning these out, right? I think that they should send them all to the Everglades, these robots, and let them fight the pythons down there.
Yeah, there you go.
I thought this is a great plan. Just, if you're going to make all these robots, just send them down and let them go after all these snakes in the Everglades, right?
There you go.
There's a job.
Yeah, there you go.
There is the perfect job for all these, right? Okay. So nobody ever asked me, but I think that's the perfect solution. And that'll keep them busy too. Right.
There you go.
Uh,
That's a really
okay.
good idea, though.
It really is. Okay, the job nobody else wants. Let's let the robots do it. Okay. Uh, all right. El Salvador had a 6.3 earthquake, which was felt across Central America, by the way, and 124,000 people estimated to have felt the shaking. As many as 2 million actually felt it moderately. That's a pretty good size earthquake. Again, we're seeing a lot of earthquakes, by the way. Yeah, we had a series of strong earthquakes take place in Ethiopia, and appearance of large cracks near a long dormant Dothan volcano. So, volcanoes and earthquakes, all right there in Ethiopia, with a 5.7 earthquake. So, a lot of stuff going on in Ethiopia, by the way. Alaska, Mount Edgecombe, located on Krusoff Island at the coast of Alaska, has a dormant volcano. This thing has been quiet for over 800 years, they say, is starting to come back to life. Can you believe this?
They're bringing back viruses back to life. So, yeah, a natural occurrence like this, I believe it. God's trying to get people's
I
attention.
know. I know. This thing has been slumbering for centuries and it's now starting to open up again. That's really crazy, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, I guess we'll be watching that. Who knew, right?
God's serious.
I want to talk about this because we have a page called End Times Landslides, and that page was started a few years back because, quite honestly, I was researching for an end time news program I was doing for a church, and I landed on the United States Geological Survey website, and I was stunned to find out the statistics that landslides had increased exponentially between the short span of time of 2004 to 2015. And we're talking an average between 1996 to 2004 of only about, I don't know, 12 events a year. Now, 2015 reported 622 or more landslide events. That is a serious jump.
That's
And so
huge.
it's huge. And I thought, there's something going on here. And I think there was something so big going on that the USGS did not release their statistics anymore. They stopped doing it. And it was noticeable. It's like, well, why are they not doing this? I don't know if they just couldn't keep up, so they took it down, or they didn't want people to know this is going on, right? But now,
Possibility.
well, scripturally, I got to say, this is in the Bible. I mean, Psalm 46, 1 through 3 says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. Okay, so Psalm predicted these end times. Isaiah also talks about it in 42 verses 13 through 15. It says, the Lord shall go forth as a mighty man. He shall stir up jealousy like a man of war. He shall cry, yea, roar. He shall prevail against his enemies. I have long time holden my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. Now I will cry like a travailing woman. I will destroy and devour at once. I will make waste mountains and hills and dry up their herbs, and I will make rivers islands, and I will dry up the pools. Okay, and so we see a lot of scriptures that are focused on this. Like even Revelation 16 talks about, and every island fled away and the mountains were not found. Okay, so once again, we see the Bible predicting this event. So there's a guy, Dave Petley, Dina, who has something called the Landslide blog, and he has been keeping track of what's going on with landslides. He says extraordinary landslide year of 2024 is now complete. And he says, so I'm able to provide my initial analysis of the fatal events that have occurred. Remember that this is an analysis of only fatal events. And he says here in this, there have been literally hundreds of thousands of non-fatal landslides too. But at present, we have no mechanism to collate these reliably. Okay, did you hear what I just said?
Yes.
I mean, is that fantastic considering what I told you before that back in 1996 to 2004, there was just nothing at all very much going on. And now this guy says in 2024, there's literally hundreds of thousands of landslides.
Wow.
Now he's only tracking here these that were fatal. Okay, so he says 2024 was exceptional in every way in terms of fatal landslides. In total, he said he recorded 708 fatal landslides, excluding those triggered by an earthquake, costing 4,492 lives. And so, in terms of the number of fatal landslide, this is the highest annual total that he has ever recorded, breaking the previous record by over 100 events. A lot of this can be attributed to the fact that we have seen so much flooding around the planet. We've talked about this over and over. In fact, you can go to End Time Floods on Facebook and see what I'm talking about. There have been multiple floods around the planet. Large numbers of them have taken place in mountainous regions. With that much water, it's going to affect the mountains. They're going to start coming down. And that's exactly what we've witnessed. But are these numbers fantastic, Dina?
These numbers are definitely fantastic.
I
Absolutely.
Yes. I mean, it's absolutely remarkable what's going on. Like, here are just some of the events we can mention quickly. In 2024, West Java, Indonesia had a landslide that killed 10. There were 7 feared dead in a landslide in Fengal in Nandu, India. With a year's worth of rain in just 36 hours, they got hit with. 20 killed, 100 missing in a landslide that buried homes in Uganda. There was landslide and flash floods in 27 dead in Sumatra, Indonesia. Landslide triggered by heavy rain, killing 10 in eastern Congo. There was landslide and heavy rain in Indonesia, central Java, claiming 4 family members. We had a super typhoon Manyi that killed 7 in a landslide with 6 major storms in less than a month. There were 6 hurricanes and a tropical storm in about a month's period in Philippines. That was in the Philippines.
Wow.
12, yes. 12 bodies found in deadly landslides in Cameroon, and dozens of people are still missing, and that was in November. And at least 6 killed in a landslide after heavy rain in Kanta, Ethiopia. Okay, I don't mind telling you that is notable. All right. This is what we saw in 2024. Let's jump over, and I want to mention this. Believe it or not, in Kazakhstan, there was a 95 car pileup that occurred, leaving 12 injured. And this took place because of the weather, terrible weather that came through and hit them. Isn't that crazy?
Just devastating, all these things that are happening.
And we talked about lightning, but this week, 2 people were killed with lightning in South Africa, along with several goats in their village, in the Namkamba village in Eastern Cape of South Africa. All right. Well, I want to take a look quickly here at a report. Now, this falls in line with end times and the Bible, that men's hearts would wax cold, and we're going to see a lot of that. And here is the proof from National Security News. An article came out about the grim crime statistics in the U.S. Now, the focus here is the U.S., But I want to just say this. I look at crime in other countries, and the United States is tracking with the crime in other countries. It's not just isolated to the United States, although we hold our own. This is a worldwide problem, Tina, and it has to do with the enemy is rising up here in these last days. It's crime-ridden world like we've never seen before. Okay, so here are some of the things that are noted in this article. Shoplifting is epidemic. So incidents in the US have skyrocketed by 93% compared to pre-pandemic levels. That, according to National Retail Federation. Isn't that unbelievable?
That's a big number.
It's huge. Monetary losses have jumped 90%, affecting businesses nationwide. I mean, people have no idea this is going on. You want to know what the car theft capital of America is?
What?
Bakersfield, California. A city with less than 500,000 residents has become the car theft capital of the country.
Oh,
It's
wow.
yeah, its distinction as the worst hit by auto theft cases highlights the severity of its issue. Wow. Denver is right there behind them. In 1 year, Denver, Colorado had witnessed a staggering 37% increase in car thefts. Is that wild? That's a huge jump.
That's huge.
Right. Well, the problem is their Democratic ran cities have defunded law enforcement and created a culture of moral relativism. And I believe that, right? We believe that. Okay, well, how about this? Pueblo, Colorado had a rate of 891 thefts per 100,000 residents of just stealing cars. 47% increase in auto thefts within a single year. That's a huge jump.
That's a huge jump.
They attributed to recreational marijuana legalization. And you know what? Anytime a region legalizes drugs, they regret it, don't they?
They always do.
Always do. It's always regretted, but they continue to do it. And this is all part of the Bible. The Bible talks about pharmakia, which is sorcery in the Bible, and it continues. But massive crime statistics, the FBI documented over 14 million criminal offenses in the United States in 2023, and that report just came out. That's a lot, okay? That's a lot of stuff going on. But you know, the US leads the world in prisons. America's prison population is the largest globally, with over 1.9 million inmates. The US incarcerates 25% of the world's prisoners, despite having only 5% of its population. I mean, can you believe that?
That's incredible.
It's incredible. And so here's another thing that's huge. Gangs spreading across the nation. The FBI reports that more than 33,000 gangs are active within the U.S., creating an overall sense of lawlessness. And they also tie it to open border policies. But mega gangs and membership, it is estimated there are approximately 1 million gang members in the United States, a sobering figure that highlights the depth of organized criminal activity within our communities. And gangs and violent crime, shocking gangs are believed to involve approximately 80% of violent crimes committed in the U.S. each year. This overwhelming presence of organized crime poses a grave threat to public safety. Now let's go to sex offender crisis. Over 795,000 individuals are listed on state sex offender registries across the U.S., with the number growing annually. And so this persistent issue underscores the urgent need for effective prevention and rehab strategies. Okay, if anybody's interested, this information came from nationalsecurity.news, and sources include activistpost.com, sciencedirect.com, and newsweek.com. Okay, so that's where all these figures and everything came from. But what kind of a picture does it paint? It paints a grim picture, Dina.
Yes, it
I mean,
does.
we are absolutely a crime-ridden country. And I have a couple things I want to say about it. Okay. Here's what I have to say. If you put children in front of movies about candy and made them watch candy movies all day long, but then told them, no, you can't ever eat candy, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to want to go out and eat candy, right?
That's right.
Okay, what happens when you put a whole culture in front of entertainment that is violent and then you slap their hands when they go out and perform the same violence? I think there's something very disjointed about that, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Our entertainment industry has created a lot of this. I mean, people don't think so, but I'm sorry, I disagree. And there's something else I have to say. I used to work in a ministry program. I was in charge of a program in which a group of us would go into the Indianapolis Juvenile Center to minister to the kids that were in juvie, right? And we would get with these kids and we talk to them and we get to know them. And so much of the problems with kids that are in crime or gangs or end up in jail for whatever reason, Dina, it goes right back to the home. I would say that a large majority of the kids that I talked to did not have fathers in their homes.
That's sad.
Yeah, it was like a major impact in their lives that they were from broken homes, and so many of them felt like they were not loved. They did not come from an environment that was loving. And let me tell you what, the gangs fill that gap. They fill that void. They take on the role of parent or father. And that's why these kids, now I'm not saying that's just 100%, but that is why so many of them flock to these gangs, Dina.
I believe that.
And so this is the sad statement. But as far as the enemy is all about the breakdown of the homes, the family, and look at the result that comes from it, right? I mean, it's absolutely now see that the family is God's creation. And so we see the significance of what God had created and how, if you break down that system, what are the results? I mean, I just read them to you.
Yeah,
And this
very
is going
bad.
on. This is going on in third world countries. It's going on all over the planet. That was for the US, but it's going on everywhere. So these are kind of some of the things that, I wanted to mention this week. So who knows what we'll talk about next week? We never know what we're going to talk about. And that's why you got to keep coming back to the show, right?
That's right. We always got something going on.
Well, I certainly hope that everybody will not just come and check out what we're doing, but subscribe and share. And definitely, the Lord is coming and he will have to, because he said, when you see these things happening, look up because your redemption draweth nigh. And so we're seeing them happen. So the next thing is that the Lord will come and you want to be ready, and you want to be ready anyway, because really nobody knows what tomorrow holds. I'm sorry to say, but we need to be ready at all times. And so I think that's going to be it for me, Dina. I'll turn it back to you.
Well, thank you so much, Susan, for bringing us all of these end time headlines that prove that Jesus is on his way. Jesus is on his way. And if you guys want to watch these videos, you can find them on Susan's YouTube channel, Marriage Supper of the Lamb Ministries, my channel, Dina Amelia Kalmeta. We're also on Rumble as Jesus 24/7 and podcast. Go and subscribe to our podcast on Google, Apple, and Spotify. We'd love to see you guys there. We're also on Facebook and X. So go like our page, go subscribe on X, and share, like, and comment. I want to hear from you. I love reading your guys' comments. I love hearing from you. I enjoy praying for you. So drop us a comment, say hello, let us know if you need prayer. We'd be happy to pray for you. And Susan, anything else? And thank you. Thank you to the audience for watching. You are the reason why we are doing this, to wake up the world, to let people know that Jesus is coming. And the most important is so that you and your loved ones and your friends can get saved so that we can spend eternity in heaven with Christ. And that's all I've got. Susan, anything else you'd like to add?
Well, thank you, Dina, for that. And I just want to mention that if you're looking for free resources on these topics, go over to our website website, End Times Prophecy Catalog. Everything is free over there for the download. And also check out we're re-releasing the Revelation for Beginner video over on, I think it's on Marriage Supper of the Lamb ministry page on YouTube, and you can go through that series. It's 22 chapter, line by line, Revelation for beginners, easy to follow along, and you get a feel for what's going on and what's coming. You want to know what's going on. You want to understand the hour you live in, and why be in the dark? Join us for that. It's easy to follow along with, and it's all there for you to go through, and line by line we studied the Bible together. Anyway, so that's it for me, and I'm like Dina. I appreciate everybody that comes to our show, and please use it for a ministry tool with your church. I know pastors have no time to figure all these things out. That's fine. We're doing it for you, but just share to let people know the hour is late and the Lord is coming, right, Tina?
That's so true. Yeah, it's almost midnight, you guys. Get on the boat because he is coming and he is coming soon. And even so, come Lord Jesus. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Susan, for bringing us these headlines. And until next time, stay tuned. We've got some great headlines coming up in 7 days. All right, everybody. We love you. God bless and stay safe.